finally a vlog. Stay tuned. I will tell you everything that's gone down. It was a lot. Hey guys, so I am here to tell you what all has been going on. First off, there has not been a vlog in a hot minute because my laptop crashed and then I could not find my camera. And even if I did find my camera, I had no computer to edit it on. So I finally found my camera and then I had to go buy a new computer. So back up and running. Hopefully I'll have a crap ton of vlogs for you in the future. But as of right now, I'll only have a couple. But just bear with me. So a little about what has happened. First off, I've had a baby and I'm super excited and I'm so tired, like deliriously tired, but he's worth it. So what had happened was, I believe, let's see, he was born May 2nd. He was 3 weeks early. I was 37 weeks. And like right at 37 weeks and a day, I believe. 37 weeks and a day. The day before he was born, I had gone out with my parents and we were out pretty much all day. And it was about 3 something, 4 o'clock, I started getting contractions. And I'd been having contractions, you know, and they had been to the point where a couple of times I had to stop and breathe and just figure out what was going on. It was crazy. So we were in the car and I started having contractions and my mom was like, you know, I'm gonna start timing these. And it was funny because that morning I woke up and the first thing I told David was, I feel like something's gonna happen today, because I knew I was going like way far out of town with my parents. And so I was like, I just know I'm gonna go into labor while I'm like extremely far away from the hospital. I just know it. I just know it. Close, but no cigar. So we were in the car and I started having contractions. My mom started timing them. It got to where I was having 4 an hour. And we met my grandparents for dinner. And it was ridiculous. Okay, I told you guys his name is Elijah Owen. We get into the restaurant and we're passing this brand new baby boy. And I was just like, oh, heart, ovaries, must grab baby. And so I was already like, okay, contractions, baby, I am just, whew. Okay. We get to our table and we sit down. Behind us are 2 twin boys who were 4 months old. And of course, me and my mom were just like, babies. And then the table in front of us, I overheard their conversation. And the guy said, yeah, she's being induced May 5th. And the kid's name is Elijah Cullen. I was like, that sounds way too close to Elijah Owen. There's babies galore here. I'm contracting while trying to eat my freaking chicken. Like, this kid, he's about to do something. I just know it. Well, the entire time, my mom kept looking at me. She's like, are you okay? Do we need to go to the hospital? And I'm like, I don't know. And I was getting scared. I was texting David. I was like, I don't know if I should go. You know, like, I kind of just want to go to sleep. I'm tired. But finally, by the time I left the restaurant, I was like, okay, I'm going to go and at least get checked out. So we're leaving the restaurant. We've made the decision. I'm going to the hospital, going to get looked at, and I just start bawling. Because at this point, I'm terrified. You know, these contractions are legit. They're happening. And I didn't think they were going to keep me or anything. But I was just like, I'm getting to that point of needing to be kept or having to go in my water break. And like, I'm getting so close. And I was just literally petrified. And I just started shaking. And I was like, this is crazy. So we get to the hospital. I've calmed down. It's taken forever. They're doing all the checking out that they can. And I was literally, it was getting late. And I was literally on my phone texting what was still open to eat. Speaking of eating, my turkey bacon is done. So yeah, I was literally on my phone texting what was open because it was so late to get some to eat because I was starting to get hungry again. And not 5 minutes later, the doctor comes in. She's like, so are you comfortable? And I was like, no. And she's like, good, because we're going to make you even more not comfortable. You're going to stay and we're going to induce you. And I was like, excuse me? What? What? And she's like, yeah. So basically what had happened was my blood pressure was extremely high, and she said it was so high, and being that I was already 37 weeks, they were just going to go ahead and induce me. I freaked the frick out. Like, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, no, I'm not being induced. What? I was just here because I was sore, and I literally wanted either some kind of medicine or something to just kind of like keep me calm and keep me from going into labor, and for them to just kind of reassure me that everything was okay and that, you know, I wasn't in danger or nothing. Apparently I was, though. So she was like, yeah, we're gonna induce you, hang tight. And I was like, oh my god, I gotta call David. He was at work, and I was just like, oh my god, oh my god. You know, like, the only thing I could think of was, I need David, I need David, oh my god, I'm gonna be a mom tomorrow, I need David, oh my god, my son is coming. That was like my thought process. I was like, da 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 da. So I called David. He answers right away because that was our deal. I was like, if I call you at work, something's going down. So I called him, and he answered the phone. He was already on board because I told him, I was like, I feel like something's happening today. And when I told him they were inducing me, he's like, what? I was like, you heard me. I was like freaking out. Like, I was literally in shock. Like, I could not believe it. So he's like, okay, leaving work. And I was like, okay, go home, take your shower, do whatever you gotta do. We still have time. Just, you know, also hurry up. Because I was already scared. And then she told me they're inducing me. And I'm just like, no. So, yeah. So they start wheeling me. And my heart's just racing. You know, of course, my blood pressure's like through the roof. And I'm just like, this is happening. This is happening. They get us to the room. I had a really sweet nurse. She hooked me up. She did everything. And those belly band things, the pink and blue ones, oh my god. Though they make those look so comfortable in like movies and TV shows. Those things are a bit, like, they hurt. And they're just so uncomfortable. They kept rolling up and twisting and turning, and then, like, because I have this like nasty freaking weird gut, they kept like slipping and sliding. And of course my belly wasn't like boom, you know, it was laying down. It was like, you know, like I didn't have like the awesome pregnant belly that every woman wants. Ugh. So finally she took those off, and they put on another thing. Of course that thing didn't work, and they had to put the bands back on, and I was just like, motherfuck, you know. So that happened. David gets there. Of course, my mom was already with me. David's mom gets there. Everybody's laughing, cracking up, having a good old time. I'm like, this is going to be great. Like, I'm having the time of my life. I'm getting medicine that's pushing me further along. I'm feeling good. Okay, I got this. We could do this. Nope. In fact, everything I have been told about giving birth, I'm not going to say that people lied. People told me it would hurt. I just feel like they very much so underestimated the pain. Like, I don't even know. I don't even know. This pain, everybody said that contractions felt like cramps. I want to punch those people in the vagina, because that is so not even close. Like, these contractions for me, they felt like somebody was reaching up inside of me, squeezing and yanking and jerking and biting and sucking the air out of me. And my back was hurting, my front was hurting, my head was hurting, my chest was hurting. I couldn't breathe, and when I did breathe, I felt like I couldn't breathe. Like, it was so bad, and I was starving the entire time, which I knew would happen. And that was also one of my biggest fears. Like, literally everything I told David I thought was going to happen would happen. I said, I'm going to have horrible back pain. I'm going to have issues with the epidural. I'm going to be starving. And sure enough, all those. I was like, I'm going to be thirsty. And I told him, ice chips better be freaking flowing by the truckloads because I'm going to need something. And sure enough, like, he did really good with ice chips. So I'm fine throughout the night, or at least most of the night, and then I start feeling some things, and I'm like, ooh, yeah, ooh. So then they really start coming, and they're like, let's go get your epidural, and I'm like, mommy, you know, because, like, I've been terrified of the epidural my entire life. As much as I want a baby, terrified of that epidural, because my spine is sensitive, and, like, my back hurts and feels weird and stuff, so I just, like, ew. So we get there, and I'm freaking, and they literally stabbed me like 4 to 6 times trying to get the thing in. And she's like, your spine is so tight, we can't find a space to get it to go in. And I was just sitting there like, not my problem, you know, whatever. And then they told me they got it in. So I was like, okay. I go back to the room, and they keep asking me, can you wiggle your toes? And of course, like, because they didn't do it right, I was, you know, just sitting there all like, wiggle, 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 wiggle. And then she kept asking, can you move this? Can you move that? And of course I could. Well, I could, and then sometimes it was a little difficult, but it was still like, I still felt everything. And I keep telling David, this nurse was a, you know what? And, like, I know she was getting frustrated with me, but again, not my problem. You know, unless you're laying up in this bed, don't get an attitude. Don't say nothing. So she started fussing at me. Well, you shouldn't be able to feel that because you had an epidural. I'm like, I feel it. I feel it. If I'm sitting here telling you I feel it, I freaking feel it. And then she kept saying, well, is it pressure or pain? I was like, it's both. It is both. Like, I'm feeling everything. There's pain, there's pressure, and I want to kick you in your face. Like, I did not like her at all. And if I ever see her on the streets, I will probably punch her in the vagina too, because I'm like, ugh. Did not like her. So finally, after what seemed like an eternity of these horrible biting, fisting, yanking contractions that literally were taking my breath away. And by the way, okay, they told me my blood pressure was high. They weren't giving me anything for blood pressure at this time. I'm not for sure why. At least I don't think they were. All I can remember was they were giving me stuff, the Pitocin, to help with the inducing and getting labor going. I think they gave me a couple of pills, but I'm not for sure if it was blood pressure stuff or not. So my blood pressure's still through the roof. I'm having all this pain. It's getting harder to move. I'm starving, you know, and I'm tired. You know, you got every kind of feeling, every kind of emotion going on. And the nurse is being you know what. And finally they come in and tell me that I should do the epidural again. Now at this point, I was saying no, because I was like, okay, I'm just one of those women who it's not going to take, you know, I'm going to have to do this on my own. And I was mentally trying to process that, like, my vagina is going to be ripped open and I'm going to feel everything. Okay, let's work on this. And finally David told me, he's like, honey, I think you should go do it. And like, the look in his eye, like, just made me do it. So I was like, okay. Turns out they did it wrong at first. All that poking, they did it wrong. So I was pretty livid at that point. They gave it to me again. It went in fine for whatever reason. And as soon as I got back to the room, I remember everything just disappearing and I was asleep. And it was probably the second best sleep of my life. When I woke up, like, I didn't feel anything, by the way. I didn't feel anything during that sleep. I was gone. When I woke up, instantly, I felt so much pain. So much pain. And the contractions were continuous, just over and over and over and over. I could not catch my breath. Like I said, I was having high blood pressure. My heart was racing. I had so much anxiety already. So I was just out of it, and like I couldn't breathe, it felt like, you know, and having to breathe through the pain was even worse. So I was just literally, I was getting tunnel vision, and everything was like going like this, and like there was like a white cloud around everything, and at times I lost my vision. I couldn't breathe. I was like, I'm dying. Like, I'm not gonna. Through the pain, I kept thinking, this is the last time I'm gonna see David. I'm not gonna get to see my son. And that was a really scary thought. And of course, everybody around me was like, breathe, breathe. I'm like, I can't breathe. Like, there's a problem. And the nurse just kept being, you know, the whole time. And finally she told me that I was 10 centimeters fully effaced, but that I couldn't push because there was something else, and I forgot what she said. And I remember I have never hated a person more in my life than at that moment, because it was the strangest feeling. I remember just feeling the need to push. I was like, if I can just push, I know I will feel better. You know, it's kind of like, well, it's not kind of like, but I guess if I had to give an example, you know, when you're hungry, you feel that you're hungry and you start thinking, I need to get food. What do I want to eat? Where should I go? You know, that's kind of what it was like. That's kind of like my brain was like, I need to push. Let's go. You need to push. And she's like, well, you can't push right now. She's like, if you start pushing, you're going to be pushing for like 3 hours. I didn't care. I knew that pushing was the only thing that was going to make me feel better. And she kept refraining me. And my mom kept saying, well, if you need to push, bear down. And you know, the thing was, my last doctor appointment, I had asked the doctor, I said, if I have a catheter in me, which I know you guys will put one in, I can't push with that in me, right? And he said, no, if you push with the catheter in you, you could end up pushing out your bladder. So my mom kept telling me, bear down, it's okay. I'm like, I don't want to lose my bladder, but I want to push on my baby. It was horrible. It was horrible. And this went on for like hours of just wanting to push and not being able to. And finally, the doctor comes in. And it was the doctor I had originally in the beginning, so I was really thankful for that. And he's like, no, she's fine. She can go ahead and push. When he said that, I looked over at the nurse like, get out of the room. I'm like, I can't lift my legs right now from the epidural. I was thinking, but if I could, I would kick you in your face. Like, I was livid with her. And he gets all scrubbed up, ready to go. And then next thing I know, I see her down in between my legs, like, okay, you can push, push, push. And I'm like, I do not want you delivering my son. Just get out of here. Like, get away from me. Get away. Thankfully, her shift ended. And she was like, I know you hate me right now, but my shift's over. I gotta go. And I'm like, bye, bitch. Bye. And then this other nurse comes in. And she was like a ray of sunshine, just so happy, so nice. And I remember she was down between my legs, and when she was telling me, she was like, okay, you can push, you can push, you can push, before the doctor comes in. And she kept like giving me a thumbs up, knowing when I was pushing good, so I could kind of feel what I was doing, because there was sometimes I was pushing and it wasn't coming, and sometimes I was. So she's like, is this helping you know like what to do? I was like, yes, keep doing it. Doctor comes in, and he sits down. He's like, push, push. And I'm like, pushing, pushing. And it was the best feeling ever. Like, pushing felt so good. Like, it was just that, like, my body knew the last, like, 14 hours, not thankfully to that other nurse, that I needed to push. So I started pushing, and it was great. It was so great. And David's holding my leg. His mom's holding my leg. I told my mom, I was like, get down there, film everything. I want to see my vagina doing what it's supposed to do, finally. Like, making me a woman. I want to see it. So she's down there like paparazzi on my puss. And like, so David's mom, David, they're like holding my legs back, and the doctor's like, keep pushing, keep pushing. And I'm like, and they're like, oh my god, we see his head, we see his head. And I'm like, oh, it's happening, this is really happening. And then we couldn't get him out. And so the doctor was like, bring in the kiwi. I was like, yes, I want food. And he's like, not that kind of kiwi. And it was like the suction thing. When the doctor pulled Eli out, it was such an amazing feeling. Like, just this, it literally, you think about it, and what you think it would feel like, it did. Like, this life force just, woo, coming out of you. Like, it was amazing. Amazing. It was just great. So great. And they suctioned him, and I heard his little cry, and I was like, I was always wondering, like, will I cry when I hear his cry, or will I not? You know, sure enough I did, and I was just like, that's my baby. Oh my god. And they cleaned him up, and they put him on my chest, and I was just like, this is love. Nothing is realer than this right here, right now. And I just looked up at David, and I remember, I'm like, we really are a family. Like, it was just so emotional. It was just great. And I'm holding him, and he's sucking on his arm. It was so cute. Making all these little cooing noises. Like, I call him my little Mickey Mouse, because he's just cutest little noises. And the doctor's like, okay, the placenta's coming now. And I was like, okay. And I always wanted to know what the placenta felt like. Like, I was obsessed with the placenta for some reason. Like, I don't know why. I was just so curious. And it comes out, and that was probably the best physical feeling I have ever felt in my life. I wanted an orgasmic birth. I didn't get it, but I feel like giving birth to the placenta was definitely orgasmic, because it come out, and it was just this like bloop, like this big bloop feeling. Like, that's the only way I can describe it. Like, it felt great. Felt great. Now, I say all this, like, it felt good thanks to the epidural. But the other day, David's mom told me that she looked down, and the doctor, like, was cutting me, and she said he had, like, both hands just all inside me doing this inside my vagina, like that. And I was just like, I didn't feel that at all. Like, I just felt my baby coming out. I just needed to push. That's all I know. I just needed to push. So, a bit of a sad story though. All of the Pitocin that they pumped me with left a lot of fluid on my lungs, which they did not check me before I left the hospital. So I had one day home with Eli, and then it was back to the hospital for like 3 or 4 days. They told me it could be a heart condition. They weren't too for sure. They wanted me back for other things. I didn't like the way I was treated. I hated the hospital. I hated the entire thing from beginning of pregnancy to birth and after. I did not like this hospital at all. I did not like the service. I felt robbed of so much joy and experiences, and breaks my heart. So I ended up, after coming home with him, I was home for a day. Like, the next day I went back to the hospital. They kept me for 3 or 4 days, and I come home, was home for another day, and went to another hospital they couldn't keep me. They didn't have those kind of doctors on hand, so they sent me to the university hospital, and I was in there for a couple of days. And the other hospital really scared me, telling me that I had a heart condition and all this other stuff. And I just remember getting so depressed and so upset because I thought, I'm finally with a great man who loves me. I finally have my son, and now they're telling me I have a heart condition and it's serious. Like, before my heart was fine, yet my heart was breaking. And now my heart is so full of love and happiness, but now it's literally breaking. Like, I just remember crying to my mom saying, why couldn't this happen years ago when I was with my first husband and depressed and wanting to kill myself? Why couldn't it have happened then? Like, it would have been so much easier to deal with. When I got to the university hospital, though, after running tests and stuff, they assured me that I definitely do not have a heart condition. My heart's beating fine. Everything looks fine. There are things to look out for in the future, and just like genetically and stuff. But they told me I actually had preeclampsia, which is why my blood pressure skyrocketed, and the last 2 weeks of my pregnancy, my weight skyrocketed as well, and that's why I was having chest pains and shortness of breath and just feeling like I was just gonna faint all the time and just not doing good because of the high blood pressure. And turns out it was preeclampsia. So they treated me properly. I'm okay now. I'm still on some medicines. All the fluid's gone. So things are going okay. I'm under doctor's watch right now, but it was just really hard to be without my son those days. I mean, I wasn't without him. David would bring him like every day, and there was like a night or one night I kept him. It was just me and my mom. Sometimes David would spend the night so I could be with the baby. So I did get to have some time with him, but unfortunately it wasn't here at home doing our own thing, creating our own schedule and stuff. So I just feel like I wasn't looked after properly. I wasn't treated as fair as I should be. And I really felt that, like, they were like, oh, well, this is your first pregnancy, you don't know anything. And I just kept feeling, you know, like, shot down every time I tried to say anything or let them know how I was feeling, and trying to be like, hey, you haven't known me before my pregnancy, so let me give you my history. And they just kind of like dismissed everything. I really felt I should have been labeled as high risk, but the doctor told me I was only at a potential to be high risk. I was like, no, I'm high risk for sure. I'm high risk. So I was just really disappointed in that, and that's why I ended up going to the other hospitals, because I just didn't trust them at all, especially after labor. I was like, I'm done. But thankfully, all is well at the moment. I'm home with my man and my baby, and I'm tired, but I'm happy. Like, I have what I want. Like, it's crazy, but I finally have my baby. So anyway, thanks for watching, and in the comments below, let me know your labor story and what it was like for you. I'm interested to hear all about it, and I'm really interested to know what you girls say about delivering your placenta, if you did, because the placenta just amazes me. Like, I want to study all about the placenta. Like, it is just so cool. So cool. But yeah, so stay tuned. I will definitely introduce you to baby Eli soon, and look forward to hearing your stories in the comments.